Another amazing McWayne's class production. Today we're going to talk about agriculture and industry. The maps I use today won't necessarily be about the time frame or from the time frame from post-Civil War to the early 1900s, but the information on them should help us understand the expansion of our country, both as far as population goes and as far as the economy goes. Again, here are the questions. I have two maps to show you, one about farming and grazing and one about manufacturing and minerals. The questions I want you to be able to tell me, basically very just informational at this point. Where is the wheat belt? Where is the corn belt? Where is the cotton belt? What do Arizona and California, and really to a large extent Colorado, depend on to be able to grow crops? And what do these production centers require? And then as far as manufacturing and minerals go, where are the main manufacturing centers? What is the area that spreads east from New England to the Mississippi River called? What do individual factories need in order to be successful? And what is the cornerstone of industrialism? As with our previous podcast, the information gathered here should help us determine and explain the historical context of, well, really key events, maybe some key people, but key events. And that's History 2A. As far as Geography 2C goes, it should really help us to interpret the expansion of the United States from a geographic standpoint. Farming and grazing. Food resources really greatly affect our social and our political and our economic progress. On this map, I really want you to pay attention to three agricultural belts, as we call them: wheat, corn, and cotton. The wheat belt is kind of hard to see on this copy of the map. It really should be a light pink color, and if you're looking at it, it extends from northwest Oklahoma and up into Canada, with some concentration in Kansas and the Dakotas. But also notice that wheat is raised almost in any arable areas. The corn production is also widely scattered, but the heavy belt, and on this map, corn is kind of that orangish color. The heavy belt extends westward from central Ohio to central Nebraska, and there's also areas from Virginia to Kansas. And the cotton belt is green in this area. The main cotton belt goes from North Carolina to west central Texas. There are also other areas of cotton production through Arizona and California. But understand that California and Arizona depend on irrigation, not just rainfall. They depend on irrigation to be able to produce cotton. The relationship between the production of corn and other farm animals like hogs and cattle is really closely intertwined. Sheep, which really feed on grass, that's scattered on the fringes of all this grain production. The grain and the livestock production really gives rise to the meat packing and the flour milling industries. Okay? Now, back to irrigation, the largest projects are in California and Colorado. There's also millions of acres of irrigated land along the lower Rio Grande and into Arizona, Utah, Idaho, and other western states. These production centers for all of this food really, really depend on efficient transportation. So really, again, we're going to see that the growth of agriculture also starts the growth of the railroad industry. And even though we have a lot that we produce, it's pretty important to notice, and if you look at this map, all of the little arrows that are out in the ocean areas, all of the things that we still need to import. Okay? So farming and grazing and the areas in the United States that are important. Again, I borrowed this map from Edgar Wesley, and it's in our United States History and Maps. Now on to manufacturing and minerals. This map shows the main manufacturing centers, the location of some mineral products, and the centers for certain specific manufacturing centers. Really, when we're talking about manufacturing centers, we're talking about New York, Philadelphia, Cleveland, Detroit, Chicago. If you look at this map, really, what we're looking at all those dots, those orange dots. And you can see that they're sprinkled across the country from New England to really through the Mississippi River. And that's what is called the American Manufacturing Belt. Now, for individual factories to be successful, what they look for is they look for locations that have raw materials, that have a big labor supply, and they have transportation so they can get their product to markets. Again, the railroad industry is going to be important. Along with the railroad industry, because you need this, the cornerstone of industry, of industrialism, is steel. Now, if you really could see this and pay attention closely, and it's hard on this map, but you'd see that the iron and the steel industry originally came in the Appalachian Mountains, but it actually extended into the Lake Superior region. We do import steel from other areas, but again, the manufacturing belt, this steel area, are really closely intertwined. More recently, people have called this the Rust Belt because of the decline in the economy and the decline in the production in these areas. But those are the areas that are important to manufacturing and minerals. Again, I borrowed this map from Edgar Wesley in our United States History and Maps. With some of that information, again, you should be able to help us explain the context of key events, and we will begin to interpret the expansion of the United States using this information. His Macadociousness Incorporated.